I am an out ally, and I have been very, very closely involved in the local LGBTQIA space for over 5 years now. I'm a former teacher myself, taught for 18 years, and I got very closely involved in this community when I had some students that came out, one in particular as trans, and they did not have safe spaces to talk about what they were going through, and so I became that safe space. I know that if I did that today, I probably would get in really, really big trouble, obviously, but at that time, it was what needed to be done, and I remain very close to all of my students that are in this community to this day. I'm also very locally involved with Drag Brunch at the Woody. I'm good friends with Curtis and Chase and Kevin and a few other folks. And so very glad to be here combining banned books with this community that is very marginalized and scared. So very thankful for You Belong. We'll talk a little bit more about what they're doing as well. Glad you're here. It's going to be a great afternoon. I know that Dr. Wynn already came around and talked about Venmo and the website. I'll let Curtis talk more about that a little bit later. Ren, sorry. So here's the way the day is going to kind of lay out. We made some quick adjustments to the agenda. We're going to hear from Dr. Wynn to open us up, and then we're going to start with our first round of performances by our local drag queens, followed by a couple activities about the book Flamer, which is the banned book that we are here talking about today. We also have Beth King, who will be talking about what it's like to work in a library in a high school during these times, and some of the things that she's been experiencing. And then we'll have our second round of queen performances and another activity around Flamer if time permits. Okay, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about Flamer. I'm gonna read directly from something the author wrote, and I'm going to talk about the book in a short summary, and then we're going to do one activity called the Theater of Voices to discuss parts of the book, and then we'll take a break. After the break, there'll be more performances and one more activity. So first I'd like to read from what Mike Curato, the author, one of his speeches that he wrote about this book. Can you hear me? I have my teacher voice on.
It's okay, it's fine.
Okay. So this is from the voice of Mike. I'm gay. It took me a very long and sometimes perilous journey to be able to say that out loud and with pride. It's taken me a long time to say I love myself. I like who I am. These are things I couldn't say when I was 14. I'm trying to remember the first time someone called me the F word. It's happened so many times that I can't pinpoint when it started, and it still hurts. The best revenge I've come up with is to make a book about being the F word, and how it's nothing to be ashamed about. How being the F word is a beautiful thing. How being gay and colored and fat isn't ugly. We are not dirty. We are not sinners for being gay. We sin when we believe the lies that are perpetuated against us. We sin when we apologize for being here. I sinned because I didn't think I was worth anything. This story is my penance and my redemption. Today, my book Flamer is in the world for you. It is gay, and I am proud of it. Children are killing themselves because they think they are unlovable, because they think this world is not for them, because they're afraid that if they don't kill themselves, someone else will. I was a child like that, but I chose to stay. And I would like to ask my sweet, beautiful, worthy fellow Flamers to stay too. Stay here with me. We can see what happens. It won't all be good, but there is more good in the world than you know. Sometimes life pulls a reveal. What gay person doesn't love a plot twist? Flamer is fiction, but it's also real. This is real life. This is what some people go through. Real life is violent and crass and funny and treacherous and hopeful. Flamer is me living. Flamer is me encouraging people to find a way to live. Your life doesn't have to be lived on anyone else's terms but your own. You're enough, kid. You're enough. So that was him. He's got a lot of speeches out there, but that one just really resonated with me, one of the most. And so for a quick recap about the whole book, again, this is Flamer. It is told in graphic novel style, like almost like a comic, so it's really easy to read. And don't let the graphic novel fool you, though. It is very deep and has a lot of metaphors, and it's just really poignant and beautiful, and it makes me sad that there are students in high schools and middle schools all over our state that are going through what they're going through and don't have resources like this to know they're not alone. But anyway, summary. Flamer is a coming-of-age story based on Mike's life. It is set in the 90s, and many aspects of Aiden's identity are challenged during his last week of summer camp, including his race, his faith, and sexuality. He is bullied for being feminine, many boys calling him homophobic slurs and Chinese over and over, even after he tells them he's Filipino. At the same time, Aiden is slowly coming to terms with the fact that he has a crush on another male camper, Elias, and what that means for him and his religious identity. Throughout Flamer, Aiden experiences the anti-LGBTQ culture of the 90s from his peers and authority figures. His fellow campers literally use homophobic slurs and bully him for his stereotypical feminine qualities. The camp's leaders encourage toxic masculinity and boys will be boys behavior. Even in church, Aiden's pastor preaches fire and brimstone. Aiden's authority figures fail him when they fire a camp counselor named Ted for being gay. Eventually, Aiden feels completely ostracized in every aspect of his life. One of the major reasons Aiden struggles to come to terms with his sexuality is because he is a Christian. His environment does not encourage intersection between homosexuality and Christianity. In other words, if Aiden is a Christian and exhibits Christian practices and values, he can't be gay, and vice versa. In Flamer, Aiden is an altar server at his church, even after many of his peers quit when they reached high school, and he continues to attend a non-denominational service while at camp. So when Aiden starts crushing on fellow male camper Elias, the dissonance between that and his religion causes him to consider unaliving himself. Unfortunately, this is a common thread in many LGBTQ+ personal stories. Aiden does have a best friend, Violet, whom he writes letters to almost every day, and at one point he confesses his situation to her via letter. He waits and he waits for a return, feeling lost in the meantime. And just as he has his vision preventing him from unaliving, he receives her return letter, letting him know she would never abandon him, and there is nothing wrong with him. In the end, Aiden receives a life-saving vision of his spirit as a warrior, wreathed in flames, who asserts, despite everything his environment is telling him, that Aiden is enough. Flamer is ultimately about acceptance and hope in a culture of hatred. It's interesting, last statement that
I'm going to talk just for a minute about Midlands Apple and who we are. I have some of my other Midlands Apple folks here with me, so if I forget something or say something wrong, let me know. Midlands Apple, we came together in November-ish, around the election time, and our main mission is to educate and engage and empower the local Midlands community around public education and libraries. At that time, one of the biggest needs we saw was book banning and school vouchers and losing funding for public education and censorship. As I think most of us are well aware by now, it's become a lot more than that. But we are still here, and we spend a lot of time educating the Midlands area about how to advocate, how to lobby for legislation or against legislation. We had a really great turnout for people coming in and speaking against House Bill 3927, which is the DEI bill that has still not been passed. Crazy, I guess.
Clap for that.
For now.
Definitely clap for that.
Yeah. So we had a really large group of people that turned up and lobbied that day. We also have had consistent turnout every time one of the book bans is being discussed. Right now, there are 10 more books on the table that did not even entertain public comment. They're just kind of trying to push them through because our state superintendent of education, Ellen Weaver, wants the headline of being the first state to ban the most books. So there's that. But we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. We have a monthly learning lab. We do book clubs. This is the first banned book club we're doing. But what am I forgetting? We do a lot of things. And
Let's clap for the first band book club.
Yeah.
Yes. First event.
Well, yeah, we've had book clubs, but not banned book clubs. This is the first one. So that's actually a good segue, I think, into Flamer. So we're here to talk about Flamer today, and Flamer is one of my favorite of the recently banned books, just because I am very close to this community. And so what we do during a lazy book club is we actually don't have people read the book unless you did it by choice. I'm going to share with you a synopsis of the author and his story, why he wrote Flamer, and I'm going to read a little summary about Flamer, and then we're going to actually do a little activity together about like trying to put ourselves in different shoes or in similar shoes and sharing our experience, if that makes sense. So this is the book. It is a graphic novel, and it was recently taken off all of the school shelves in the whole entire state of South Carolina. So I'll start there and give a little pause. That's a deep moment. How many books are we up to now?
11.
11. And there's 10 more coming down the pipe. Now, what we call them banned, other folks say, we just removed them from the shelves. We didn't ban them. We tell the truth. We say they've been banned from schools, and they're trying to go after public libraries as well. So we call it like it is, and no tea, no shade, that's what we do. So I'm going to sit down for a minute. Yeah, go ahead, Gabby. Do you want to come up?
Yeah, just one thing about the band.
This is Gabby. She's also a Midlands Apple. Oh,
Good.
and I'm the social media manager.
Okay, come on, Apple.
So just one thing about these next books that are coming up to be banned. So the ones that we are going to hear about on May 6th, which is the next state Board of Education meeting. The last time that they were to be considered banned was in April. And for the first time, thanks to Apple and other advocates sending letters, talking to their state school board reps, it's the first time in history of a lot of our advocates who've been doing this for a long time that they actually had a conversation. They actually paused on voting on whether or not to ban these books because so many people have spoken up and spoken out.
Yeah,
And
clap for that.
on May 6th, at that school board meeting, we are considering this to be the most important school board meeting for people to show up to. You don't have to speak, but packing that room and making sure that, as we were talking earlier, the silent majority isn't silent anymore is truly the biggest act of advocacy that you can do right now to keep these books in our schools. So please, anybody that you can know, that you can think of that could come out Tuesday, May 6th at the State Board of Education meeting, it would be a huge help, and our kids need to see that we're behind